influx, like when I say influx, I'm talking a massive influx of families who are new to homeschooling and seem to be overwhelmed, a little bit stressed. So Brittany's here to kind of keep an eye on questions if they come up and whatnot. And I'm just going to give you some pointers that I would recommend if you're a new homeschooler, just starting out, some things that may help you. Maybe even if you're a struggling homeschooler, this would be something that would help you. So
we have a ton of people jumping in on the chat saying, hey, good morning, hi Aniston, Teresa. We actually jumped in here, I was on in the chat room like 10 minutes before the live started, and we have all these people that jump in, and I was like, it's the VIP chat room, the pre-show chatter. So we were all saying hey and jumping on.
The app is actually pretty fun. I've actually enjoyed, I spend probably more time now, I spend more time I think in the app than I do in the Facebook group. I know we have a lot of people that serve the Facebook group, and it's a great place to be, but the app I can go through really quickly, and I can, because they're targeted groups, you can click on chit chat, or there was a photo in there today, I think is it Carissa Clark? Is Carissa one of the, I think she had posted, she got the adorable kids, posted a picture that's like, oh, that's a, remember that picture exists there, because that photo is, it's a place where you post good photos, and we keep an eye on good photos because we use them in catalogs and marketing, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, exciting. If you are joining us in the Facebook group, drop a comment, say hi. It looks like Facebook's not going to show me the comments, so I'll have to go on my phone and look at those. But say hi, let us know you're there. If you have any questions or comments along the way, be sure to drop them and I'll be reading through them.
You're going to go on? Okay. So, we got another announcement. We'll announce it a couple times.
So today we are giving Answers for Homeschooling away. Answers for Homeschooling, top 25 questions critics ask. Because we have so many new homeschool moms coming into the group, we thought that this would be a valuable resource for all of you. I'm going to drop a link to the free digital download in the comments in the app and on the Facebook group. Israel Wayne is the author of that. He is also the author of his newest book, is Raising Them Up.
Parenting for Christians. It's a great resource.
Pitch in a Fit, Overcoming Angry and Stressed Out Parenting. And then one that would correspond really well to Answers with Homeschooling is his Education, Does God Have an Opinion? A Biblical Apologetic for Christian Education and Homeschooling. So
yeah, that's kind of an apologetic. Like if you want to know, like masterbooks, this sums up the masterbooks philosophy of why homeschooling is important, why we're in it. So yeah, free digital of this will be posted. So be sure to grab it if you haven't. And if you like it or love it, be sure to support Israel with one of the other books in the physical books, or buy that book for somebody in the physical that maybe is looking for homeschool, just questions about socialization, dealing with critics, just different things like that. It's awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about understanding. If you're new to homeschooling, let me just break some things down, some common things. Understand the school year first of all. The typical school year is 36 weeks, 180 days. So a student that would be, most school districts, or a student that's going to school, they're going to go 36 weeks out of the year, 5 days a week, 180 days. A school year is broken up. Now you have quarters. A quarter is every 9 weeks, right? 36 divided by 4. Every 9 weeks would be a quarter. So when we start school, we usually start school after Labor Day. And the first 9 weeks run. And then we have the second 9 weeks. Those 2 quarters is a semester. So semesters are twice. Our semester usually ends right before Christmas. And then we have a Christmas break, and we start third quarter, second semester in January. We've done that for a long time. I know other people homeschool all year round, and you can do that. That's not a problem at all. But basically, a school year, you're looking at 180 days, or 36 weeks, 4 quarters, 2 semesters. Okay? In that time, one of the things that you're looking at with master books is we try to make everything real easy, open and go. So you open the box, you pull it out, and you can go. I know that when you hit the internet and you start typing how to homeschool, it's going to be overwhelming because every method and all the different curriculums and all the different experts, I can't address them. All I can say is I know that we realize how difficult it is to get started, and so we wanted to make it as easy as possible. So what you will find in the Masterbooks curriculum is, in the beginning, you have the front matter, what we would call front matter, which talks a little bit about teaching math, the course objectives. This is written to the parent just to understand a little bit of an overview of the course and things that you should know beforehand. Then this is a daily lesson plan. It's set up first semester, remember 2 semesters a year, so this would be the first half of the year. First semester suggested daily schedule. Day 1, read lesson 1, pages 15, 16. Complete lesson 1, exercise 1, pages 17, 18. Okay, so day 1, I pulled this book out, I read the first couple pages, and then automatically I go to the schedule, page 15. And so I go to 15, there's a story. And so I'm able to read the story to my student, with my student, or if my student can read, awesome. Read the story, and then we have the Place Value Village. And so there's some instructions on Place Value Village, and 17 and 18, and then a little bit of copy work. That's it. Math is done. That easy. Day 2, let's say we started on a Monday, so we open the book on day 2, we go to day 2, complete lesson 1, exercise 2, pages 19 to 20. What I would recommend, if you're using it out of the book, is there's a place here for due date, a checkbox, and a grade. What I would recommend is just check the box. So when the student is done with the work, they check it off. That way you know exactly, we're done. Now let's say something happened. Grandma goes in the hospital, the whole family has to take a trip, we miss 2 weeks of school. Well, if you do the checkbox and you come back to school, or you miss a couple days, whatever, you just come back and see where the checkbox is and say, we're on day 4, right? Complete lesson 1, exercise 4, pages 23 to 24. Student goes pages 23 to 24. They've got some number copy work, and let's see, they're doing some shapes, I think. Yep, working with some shapes. So
I want to jump in real quick. We just got a second wave of people kind of coming in saying hello. So hi guys, good afternoon. Want to ask where the link for the free copy of answers to homeschooling will be. I'm going to post the link into the app, the comments in the app, and into the comments of the Facebook video once that's finished. And then a quick question from Facebook stream. Ashley and Heather asked, how do I access placement testing?
Okay, so let me go through the setup, and then we'll kind of go through placement and that type of thing. Okay, so we got there's your math. Now, we make it real easy. We have a basic 4 set. So when you're talking about school, there's going to be 4 core subjects that you want to make sure that you have: your math, your language, your science, and your history or social studies. So as long as you have those 4 subjects, then you can begin to add from there. And so again, language lessons, the beginning of the course has some front matter, and then there's a 180-day schedule. Simple as read story, page 19, complete lesson 1, exercise 1, page 20. They do that, they're done. They check the box off, they're done. And so that's a good way to get started. It's not that complicated, right? Now, let's talk placement, because that can be confusing. Master books, typically, we would talk more as in terms of skill level versus grade level, but it can be overwhelming. We do have a math placement test. It's on the product pages, and it's also on the math landing page for Math Lessons for a Living Education and Principles of Mathematics. Both have those. So if you're looking for the right math curriculum to place them in, I would go that direction. Don't worry a ton about grade, but if you're overwhelmed, go to the catalog and see. In the catalog, there's also a digital PDF of the catalog on the website, and in the catalog there is there's a section here with the basic 4 subject sets. just go to your grade 1, grade 2, grade 3. We're going to pick grade 3. It's got 7 books in it. It's got math, the language lessons 3, America's Story 1, and Life for Beginners, God's Design Life. There you go. Those are your 4 subject sets. It's 7 books total. The price is $182.65. There's your school. Comes in. It'll have all your daily schedules and everything like that in place. As far as other topics, I would use that as your basic guide. As far as placement with other things, there's some guidance there. You can also ask questions in these groups, the moms group or in the app. But what I'd advise you is let's say you're overwhelmed, so go by grade 3 or whatever grade you feel your student is going into, by that grade. As you look through it, if it seems like it's going to overwhelm them or they're struggling, then don't be afraid to stop and order a grade the level below that and do that at an accelerated rate, or just do that period. We're talking for most of our books, you're looking at $36, $37. Is it even that much? I'm just sorry.
You're good. Jackie said, so excited for this year homeschooling. My second year for 4 children. Last year I had to really unschool myself as I have a master's in teachers and taught in public schools prior to having my children. After several curriculum changes last year, I'm so excited and confident to have all master books for our language, science, social studies, and Bible for this upcoming year. Thank you for making God first, but also making it open and go for us parents.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah, so the language lessons, like if you were to place your student in language lessons 3 and then it seemed like it was too difficult, the price is $31.81 for a full year of curriculum. So if you had to go back a level, it's not going to really break the budget that much to do that, and especially if you're overwhelmed. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Okay, let's talk then. So we have 36 weeks, 180-day schedule. The books all have that. Now, a lot of our books don't necessarily have quizzes and tests. So let's talk a little bit about grading. If you do have quizzes and tests, you could use that to make up your grades. If you don't have quizzes and tests, think of it this way. You're the teacher. You set the criteria for your class. Like, okay, you're going to take my class. We're going to do language lessons for living education. Typically, an A would be 90 and up, a B would be 80 to 90, a C would be 70 to 80. So we've got, it may vary, but let's say that those are the grades that you would be giving. If you come into this course and you're really giving it some effort, you're spending time with the handwriting, you're investing yourself, I think you're going to get an A. So I'm going to give you an A in this course based on the quality of the work that you're doing. Let's say you've done the work and I feel like you could have done better, but you did good. You've done well, and some you did well in. Maybe I can assign a B. So because I feel like you've given me an above average effort, but not necessarily excellent. Let's say I feel like you did average. You came in, you did the work, you went out, you really didn't put that much into it, a C. See, as a teacher, I determine the grading system. I determine how I evaluate you and what's going to go on your report card. And so by that means, if there's not a quiz or test to assess students' learning, then I determine that. Maybe I just have a conversation and say, we're going to have a little bit, there's reviews in here that you could use. If you did a review or some narration, you could say, let's talk about what you've learned. I want to see how you're doing. And then you could assign a grade based on that. You can determine the grading system that you use. One thing that we recommend from Masterbooks is the Cumulative Record. With every subject set, and it's on the on the website, but essentially this Cumulative Record allows you to keep a student's permanent record. So you will know, like math, first semester, second semester grade. So in math, if they did the reviews and the scores are good, let's say I'm giving them an A. Second semester, A, final would be an A. Or you could do a letter grade too and say, on a scale of 0 to 100, I believe you gave me a 90% effort on that, so I'm giving you a 90%. Let's see, any resources we use. Let's say we use the math curriculum, language lessons for living education with flashcards, language lessons for living education. So we can have kind of do an assessment using this. And this gives us a guide that we can do that. But something that it also has is a report card. So there's actually a progress report that we could keep to kind of help us as well, that we could give to the student, or have the student like a report card where they can show dad or grandparents this is what they got. And so we have the progress report for and the student's name, and then we have it's very simple: subject, math, language, history, science, maybe we do Bible, art, phys ed, music. And then we just can keep, what score they got in each one, first semester, second semester, and then on the back of it is an assessment of things like work follows directions, work well independently, each quarter, did they excellent, good, satisfactory, needs improvement. You don't have to use this, it just gives you a good template to think in the ways of giving your student an assessment. Questions?
Yeah, if I'm teaching 2 kids in the same subject, should I purchase 2 teacher's guides? For example, I purchased the 3rd through 6th grade elementary geography and cultures, and it has tests and tear-outs.
I would purchase 2 of the teacher guides. You can also make copies of them, or you can buy the digital and print them off if it's within an immediate family.
There was a question earlier about scoring and that sort of thing, but you kind of covered it. Somebody asked how long a typical day with masterbooks curriculum takes, or I guess per course would take.
Depends on age. We give you, like in the beginning of the book, language lessons for living education, level 2, grade 2, would be approximately 20 to 30 minutes per lesson, 5 days a week. You may find that it takes less than that for some students if they can just sit down and do it. Other students may take a little bit longer. Some lessons may take a little bit longer, but on average, I would say in 2nd grade, you're looking at pretty close to 20 to 30 minutes a day.
And then Skittle said, do you do rewards for special things if your child gave it their best? My kids are having a hard time being motivated. I know we have a couple YouTube videos on motivating your students and how that looks, and the reward systems with that, so you might check that one out.
Yeah, I think, well, there's 2, right? There's a standard where you do the work, but then I think it's important that we reward the behavior we want. And that isn't always, let's go for ice cream. Sometimes it's just, wow, I see how hard you're working on your schoolwork and I'm proud of you. And that's enough to really be the reward. Okay?
Good.
Okay, so a little bit on grading, a little bit on understanding the structure of a school year. Let's talk about systems. Something that we found that's important because life happens. And so one of our mottos here is homeschooling for the real world, because we know that in the real world, sometimes mom is sick, she's pregnant and sick, or has a baby coming, or dealing with taking care of an elderly parent, or just having to, life is crazy, and so things happen. Systems help us to maintain those things when we can't. And so some of the things that you can do is create a little bit of schedules. So at 9 o'clock, you're at your school area, and maybe you allow the students to work on, let them choose the books if they can. If not, 9 o'clock is math time. From 9 to 9:30 is math time. Then we take a break, and maybe 10 to 10:30 is language time, and we're going to do language, and then take a break. 11 to 12 is science time, where we do our science, or maybe you can shake it up a little bit, or you can just work consistently through and say, what's got to be done. We're on day 3. You've got all 4 books, and then we're gonna work during this time. You can set that up to adapt it to your family, but the schedules are nice because sometimes the phone will ring and the kids, a whole day will go by. But if the kids know that at 9 o'clock they're to be at their desk and starting school, and you get into that habit, then the school can almost operate itself even when you can't be there to motivate everybody. I think a designated workspace is nice because it helps the brain understand that when we go to the schoolroom or we change things up in the dining room and the baskets come out, it's school time. And so there's a very clear cut differentiation there to help us. The more we find to create habits, the more that the brain gets trained that when this happens, now it's school mode and we go to school mode. I think sometimes we can try to keep things too relaxed or not have enough structure that it becomes hard for the brain to kind of go to, well, just a minute ago it was playtime or dinner time, and now all of a sudden, like the plates are still on the table and the toys are out and we're going to try to do school. Creating those habits, I think, can help you. Another thing we've done in the past, I think Kristen actually just bought some timers that the students are going to have. So the timer is set, and then when the timer goes off, they can move to the next subject. So there's a lot of things that you can do in providing some structure that will help you. It doesn't have to be complicated. I would say keep it as simple as possible. This is something, a pet peeve of mine. Maybe I'm guilty at times. The internet and social media is full of noise. Everybody's an expert, right? Everybody's an expert. There are people telling other people what curriculum to use and why they should use it and all these benefits and all these gains, blah, blah, blah. They've never even homeschooled, hardly a day. We have influencers that will come to us that will want to promote product and put it up on social media, and people will listen, but they have never homeschooled. And they'll do these reviews of why people should use this curriculum or whatever, and sometimes you're just like, but you've never even, you don't have enough experience behind you to be an expert voice. You're not, you have no high schoolers, you have no graduates, and so you're telling people how they should homeschool high school, but you've never actually done that and seen the challenges or what the requirements are, or what the requirements are for a person's state even can be very different. So when it comes to all the noise, what I would recommend is find voices that you trust and then kind of block out a lot of the noise. Questions?
Yes, gracious. Mommy over in the app asked, can you explain morning baskets and how to incorporate that into homeschooling?
Morning baskets are like devotion time. It's not something that you have to do, it's something some people like to do. So maybe in the morning as a family we do a read aloud, or we just sit down and kind of pick a book out of the basket. It doesn't have to be complicated, it's certainly not mandatory, it's something some families really enjoy. Other families will just have the books, and so maybe when you finish your schoolwork, if you finish early, go grab a book out of the basket and start reading from it. You can do it a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and you're not limited to doing it in the morning. We always did ours in the evening.
Yes.
And again, I'm Randy's daughter, and hostess here at Masterbooks. So.
Yes.
We always remind people of the family relation, because sometimes it's
If you're new, it's weird.
It's weird. This ties into a question earlier. Somebody had asked if her kids could check off more than one box a day in the schedule, if they could kind of work ahead. And then Cheryl Flood just asked, so this is our first year, is it normal for them to work ahead? I've been letting them go at their own pace, so they do when they want to do it.
I think it's okay if they work ahead. So the beginning of all the books, or most of the books, is kind of a review, so it's normal that they're going to know it and be able to go through it a little bit quicker, and then they may slow down a little bit. I think one of the things that you're going to want is consistency. So if they work a month ahead and then take a month off, it's really hard to restart that. So if they work ahead, maybe letting them know we still have 180 days, right? Maybe you'll be done a little bit early, but it's not just go finish the book and then you're done for the year.
What Mom had us do is we were allowed to go as far ahead as we wanted to, but we had to be done with that day's schoolwork in every single subject before we were allowed to do any additional work.
She was brilliant that way, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just asked, she said, what did you and your wife do when you have kids that are unmotivated to do their schoolwork? I try to make school fun for her, but sometimes it's like pulling teeth.
Well, sometimes it's a matter of, and I know there were people that were concerned about this as well, sometimes it's just a matter of a student needs some self-control. They have to learn that, it's school time, this is what we're going to do, and there's not going to be freedom to do anything until that work is done. So you guys would even lose privileges that, like if Awana's is Wednesday night and everybody's schoolwork isn't caught up, well, a privilege of going to work and a privilege of doing what you should in life is that you have some freedoms and that. Same with education. So as long as they've got their work done and caught up, then they can do those little things. Otherwise, they begin to miss out on some of the privileges that are extra or supplemental. And sometimes that helps motivate. Sometimes it's rebellion and willful. In our family, if that happens, where we see a character flaw or character issue coming, then we begin training. In our home, if that's determined, you write the book of Proverbs, 31 chapters of Proverbs. Once or twice of that is usually enough that there you have motivation to do the things that have been asked of them, right? So that's one thing. I think rewarding the behavior that you want. So when they do a good job, you give them the kudos that, hey, you got your goals done today, I'm proud of you, is sometimes simple enough. It doesn't have to be big, just noticing and recognizing, just like us, right? If our spouse comes in and says, hey, I'm proud of you for the way that you've really, taken care of the family or picked up after yourself, even though it seems like it should be that's what you do, I think that's something that can easily be done too.
Okay, a couple quick questions to bang out before you jump back in. So good. Samantha said, I have a 7th grader who should be 8th this year. Is there a way to get him an 8th in the same year? So more so skip a grade?
I think you should, my recommendation is teach the student where they are. Don't worry about the grade. It does nothing to worry about having an 8th grader if they haven't learned the material. Like, the goal is learning, not some arbitrary number on a book page. So that's like I wouldn't worry about putting a lot of stress. What happens is all the stress then is catch up, you're behind, and it's not healthy, as opposed to the brain then is always under the stress mode of you need to learn because, as opposed to let's just learn. Don't worry about the number. Let's work on learning, because if we have the foundations and the basics and we're moving forward, we're going to see progress.
Yeah. Part of this comment's cut off, so I'll try and see how much I can get to it. Vanessa said, I have 2 kids, and the comment's gone. She's basically asking. There you go. So I have 2 kids. One is doing first grade and the other's in 2nd grade. What's the best way to teach them? Do I do one kid then the other each day? They're taking all different books. Do I teach a child one subject then teach the other kid a subject and alternate between all subjects, or done each day? Neither of them read well enough to be totally independent. What do you suggest? I
would probably suggest alternating with the kids. So a lot of this is, let's read a story. So while one kid is doing this, you have another child doing something else. So you do math, you do language, and I can help each of you. And then when we finish, we're going to switch. Now you do language and you do math, and we can kind of work that out. The more, when they're doing copy work, when one student is doing copy work, well, certainly you can switch over and help the other student with reading and stuff. You may have to spin that down.
Yeah, one more quick before you jump in. Let's say my kid works ahead and finishes her... Let's say my kid works ahead and finishes her book before official day of school finishes. Do I have her move into the next grade for that subject? Example, she finishes Principles of Math 1 before we are officially done with the school year. Does she move into Principles of Math 2 in that same year?
I would. So maybe she starts earning credits early, and usually algebra would be your 9th grade. So if she does algebra in 8th grade because she loves it and she's doing it and finishes her, maybe she graduates a year early. Why not? That's something that you could certainly work towards. Kristen did. Kristen graduated a year early, and she graduated in 11th grade and was in college her when she was 17. So you certainly could make that a goal if a student wanted to.
Does the cumulative record include an attendance sheet, or state requires it?
It has, in the progress report, it does have, let's see, it has the average hours, the grade average, the hours for each semester, and the days that they attended, so you can do that. Let's see, I think also, yeah, for like first grade in the cumulative report, it has an attendance record. So you got total days attended, any comments like maybe they had their appendix out or something like that, if there's some kind of absence maybe that you want to make note of. This record is, to me, this record is good that for every student, it's a way of dotting your I's and crossing your T's. And if anybody came and said, well, how do we know you really have been doing the work that you needed to? Number one, I would keep the record of your schoolwork. I'd throw it in some kind of a bin or a container that you can keep it just in case. But then you can pull out the record and say, well, in first grade, I have a listing of all the books they did, what their grades were, how many days they attended, pictures, the spiritual growth, what books they read, anything like that.
Awesome. We'll jump back into questions. You can kind of go through. Christine, I'll get to your question in a little while. So.
Okay, well then the next thing that comes up is everybody's really concerned about two things. One is, what if we're only going to homeschool for a little bit and then send our kids back to public school? Well, I'll tell you straight up that Masterbooks is not Common Core. We really don't care a lot about what a public school curriculum is teaching. Our goal isn't to prepare you to move into public school. It's to prepare students for life and to give them a solid education. There are certain standards and scope and sequence that are pretty normal in education. We follow the standard scope and sequence. We're a little bit gentler in the beginning because I think the science supports that a gentler start will help your student excel when they're older if they develop properly in kindergarten, first, second grade. And so I think Masterbooks follows that, and we have some books on, or some videos on that books.
So that was actually Christina's question that I was going to get back to. She said, we are homeschooling a 5 and 7-year-old due to COVID guidelines. My hubby wants the kids to go back to public school next year. Masterbooks doesn't teach Common Core. Do you recommend including instruction on Common Core math? I would love to continue homeschooling, but my husband isn't on board. I feel like this year is a test to show him the benefits of homeschooling.
I don't know that I have. Okay, let's be honest. I don't like public school. So for me, if your goal is that they have to go back into a public school curriculum, then you're going to want to do more of a school at home type curriculum, not a curriculum that is more like Masterbooks. Masterbooks is set up to, for the spiritual growth, for the academic growth. I think most kids are not going to struggle terribly if they're homeschooled for 6 months or a year and then you put them back in public school. There may be a few concepts that the way it's taught isn't there. They're definitely not going to understand all the diversity issues, all the slang words that they should know. They're not going to understand evolution as being the true science. They're not going to understand some of those things, but I think for the most part, especially, the standards are the same as you go through. Just the education is a little bit different. This is a difficult one because most times, right, what we're seeing in homeschool for the last 20-some years where people began to feel a stirring. I feel like I'm supposed to homeschool. And then hubby comes along and says, okay, well, I understand, we'll try it. And so we're helping them leave something. We're not serving as a placeholder. Because of COVID, a lot of families are wanting to come in. They don't want Johnny to wear a mask, or they're concerned about him getting sick. And so it's like, well, we're going to homeschool. So we're going to find a curriculum that we can homeschool with, and it's going to serve as a placeholder. Masterbooks wasn't designed to be a placeholder to the public school. It was designed as a public school alternative. So it's hard to answer that question and say, yeah, they're going to flawlessly go right into the next grade because we're not following those standards, even though academically we're teaching many of the same concepts and lessons. So hopefully, did that come across all right? I sounded scattered. I feel...
So would she need to supplement with a common core math alongside math lessons, do you feel like?
See, I don't really think so. I mean, there may be a little bit of struggle that she would have in the beginning if a concept came up, but I think it's easy enough to figure that out at that time. If your goal in your heart is to homeschool, then you eat the elephant one bite at a time. You either go all in or use what the public school system is offering you as a school at home solution, which...
Okay. Continue on.
Okay. So can you break your student, right? This is the question. What if we do pull them out and then we have to put them back in? I don't... most of the time what you're going to see is maybe the students have gaps. And so you do a test and you find out, well, they were supposed to be in 4th grade, but they don't know some of the concepts in 3rd grade. And so we're going to pull them back a little bit. But they're going to understand the foundations. And I think if you teach them to think critically and you give them exposure to things and they enjoy education, it's not going to be a problem. But we've kind of confused things a little bit in that we call this thing homeschooling or schooling. It used to be called parenting, where we trained our children and prepared them for life. They worked alongside of us. They did what they worked in the home, they worked in the shop, they worked in the field. They went to town with us and they learned the skills that they needed to do life. It was parenting. And that's what you're doing. And if you've taught your child to tie their shoe, to use a bathroom, to talk, for heaven's sake, talking and communicating is what a big job that is. And so if you've taught your child to talk, you certainly can teach them to read. And if you've taught them how to walk, you certainly can teach them how to write and enjoy learning. So, and that's what education is. It's developing skills and the joy of learning. So don't worry so much about this, all the, oh my goodness, we're going to break them and everybody in the world's going to know that they're not as smart as everybody else because I did that. You absolutely are qualified to educate your student, and the curriculum will give you that guidance. Okay. If in doubt, again, I would go with a grade package. So if you're just like, I'm struggling to know where to place them, and maybe it's this or that, go with a grade package. That's going to be the closest to what a student in a private school, like if you were using BJU, Abeka, Switchdown Schoolhouse, Life Pack, ACE, they all follow a pretty traditional scope and sequence. Those are the major curriculums that a private school might use if they're using Christian-based curriculum. And our curriculum, the scope and sequence, is very similar to that and will prepare them for what they need. Okay. Something that I would advise you is if you're, there's a concern about my kids being strong-willed and everything. As a parent, sometimes we need to grow. And so while we're going to start homeschooling our children and it's going to be a challenge and everything, but we also we get what we lead. And I think when we start this homeschool journey, the first thing we need to ask when something is happening is, how am I leading? Right? Do I want them to be present when they're in their schooling and present when they're learning and I want them to be engaged, but every time we sit down at the table, I pull out my phone, guilty of this, right? I pull out my phone and I'm studying, but I want them to be engaged when I talk to them, but when they talk to me, I look down at my phone and I check my voicemail or the Moms of Master Books group. Well, that's on me. I need to change that and I need to lead better in that area. So sometimes we have to do that. Get out of this mindset of it's do or die and change that to it's more of a learn and grow. That we're going to try things, we're going to fail at things, we're going to succeed at things. And if we fail, it's okay. We're going to just pick ourselves up, learn from it, and move forward. That's part of learning. And we can even model with our kids. You know, I found out some of the jobs I don't want to do by trying them and learning. That isn't what I want to be when I grow up. And shifting to jobs that I did. So, you got any other comments or questions?
Yeah, so my mom, his wife, texted me and she said, wow, sometimes she chimes in, but she just wanted to say to like, keep in mind that and for any student that's being sent back to public school is going to have learning gaps anyways due to everything because of COVID.
Yeah, this year, if you're a student in public system, like you missed the whole last semester, and then now school districts are still trying to find their way.
So not to let learning gaps scare you.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Samantha asked how often do they buy the Cumulative Records?
Once. You can also buy the digital and print it off for each student.
But you would buy which one would you buy once?
Either one.
Digital?
Either one. If you buy the physical, you just keep a record. It's this record is actually for a student's entire academic. It covers intellectual, physical, spiritual, and social. And so you have your grades for the curriculum, literature completed, any academic challenges. For that grade, you have their physical growth, like what was the height, the weight, what are their physical strengths, what are physical challenges. You can put a picture of the student in. Then we have spiritual growth. They're growing in favor with God. Biblical apologetics or resources used, spiritual strengths, successes, any spiritual challenges. And then we have social. What did any extracurricular that they did, that they participated in, Awana, whatever, enrichment, did they go to the Grand Canyon that year or take any field trips, those type of things. So then as they look back, like when this is all said and done, you could actually give this to the student when they're older and say, here's your academic record, what courses you took, what you did, how tall you were, here's pictures of each grade level. It's just an excellent snapshot of a student. It's like a permanent record at the school. If you went to the local public school and said, if that a kid had attended and said, hey, do you have my permanent record? They're going to have like a record of all of it.
Would you buy one for each student or for each subject?
Each student.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. I know we have some questions over in the app, but I have to load it. So somebody had asked, what age should you start making kids write proverbs?
They start in about 3rd grade, maybe they write a chapter.
About 13.
3rd grade?
I wrote it when I was like 13, but I wrote the whole book, so.
Yeah, typically, I mean, when you get to an age where 6th grade, 7th grade, if we see that. Now again, that's not discipline, it's character issues. I know we've talked about this and debated a little bit, but I'll explain it, right? The book of Proverbs is the book that was written to train up leaders. And Scripture is clear that if you're acting foolish because you have rebellion or you're lying or you're cheating or you're stealing, some heart issue is present, then we're going to go and we're going to be trained in the book of wisdom. And the way we do that is you copy it, because in the copy work you're committing it to memory and you're learning it. My students, now we've graduated 5, and some of you have written a lot of Proverbs.
I wrote it once. I'm a quick learner.
And others wrote it once. And I have one who is determined to never write it. He's doing pretty good. But he'll, like, if there's anything, man, he doesn't want to write Proverbs.
He doesn't want to. As a student who did write Proverbs, I will say, like, I wasn't upset about it and I learned a lot from it. Like, after I did it, I appreciated it.
Yeah. We didn't, it's not discipline, it's training. And so sometimes you have to set aside everything to say, we have a heart issue here. This is more than just a little bit of will. There's a heart issue that needs dealt with. And to this day, my kids will recall a proverb or some guidance, and every one of you have thanked us for doing that. So That isn't necessarily the recommendation of New Leaf Publishing Group or Master Books. That's just what we've done. And how long have we been? We've been parenting 30 years, right? We just celebrated Carrie's 30th birthday. So for 30 years we've been parenting. 5 have graduated out of the house. 3 are married with their own kids. And 2 are out, and all of them love Jesus and are doing good. So praise the Lord.
I saw Carissa Clark was in here, and earlier we mentioned her photo in the chit chat group. She jumped in. So.
Awesome.
Hi, Carissa. Let's see. Heaven and Earth Beginners. When are you expecting that to be in?
When is that coming in?
I thought it was like in August. Does that sound right?
I think so. Yeah. We just got in Heaven and Earth Teacher Guide. Yes, I think it's mid-August. I think within the next few weeks.
And then Lisa said, my 12-year-old is not happy about the switch, mainly due to not seeing her friends. What are some things I can do to help her enjoy homeschooling? I hope to do this long-term for all my kids. Well, the beauty in that is everybody misses their friends right now. It's not just, oh, you pulled me out and now I can't see any of my friends. It's a lot of people have been pulled out, and who knows what the public school system will even look like this year. So. Right.
I think, too, having a good discussion with our kids about seasons of life. There are times that we have friends for seasons, and then some friends stick with us longer and some friends fade away. And we can embrace the new things that God is doing in our lives. You can sit and mourn and grieve everything that you've lost, or you can look for the opportunities of new adventures, new relationships, new friendships, new things that are happening. And there's a mindset to that of living life forward, not living life backward. And so what are the advantages? And we did this a lot with you guys. We would take trips and do things that their public school counterparts could not do. So it'd be like, boy, aren't you glad you're not in school right now, because you're at the coffee shop with me and this is awesome. Or we're here going fishing during school hours and nobody else can do that, but we can. Or we would take trips when people were in school, because there's less people at the playground when they're in school.
Yeah, you don't have to wait for spring break to come around. We would always skip traveling during the school's spring break because we could avoid all of the people. So
yeah. So there's things that you can do to make it like this is the beginning of an adventure. Like this isn't we're not being punished, and we're actually and here's the other thing, as an adult, right? You know this as an adult. I definitely know it as the older I get. God moves us. This recent plague it's moving people. It's shifting them. A lot of people are homeschooling that didn't intend to homeschool. A lot of people are shifting and working differently. Okay, so we can kind of pout and fuss about it, or we can embrace the challenges and the opportunities that exist. There's a lot of opportunities right now, and that's exciting.
Yeah. Kim had asked if we had any books on only children, or if there was a group in the app for only children families.
There's not. There's a YouTube video that I did with Libby, who has an only child, homeschooling an only child, on our YouTube channel. I would recommend going there. But there are other families that have, and Libby is an active moderator in the group, and there are other parents as well that have homeschool only children that you can ask questions to as well.
Selena said, my almost 6-year-old asked me how many days of freedom he had before homeschool. So it must be the time off versus the time, how much time he has off now for homeschooling. Samantha said, if our state doesn't require hours logged till 7 years, do you feel we should do it anyways?
Okay, so I would. I mean, you don't have to report it to the state, right? So don't worry about it. Listen, to the homeschool community in large, there's proposed changes that legislators are looking at. When you have mass amounts of people leaving public school and then going to homeschool, suddenly the flags are going up. we all need to make sure that we have some way that we've dotted our I's, crossed our T's. I think just in case, it's important to have a way you prove you've got an academic record. So if anybody were to ask at any time, or we lived in a state where it wasn't uncommon for a neighbor or somebody to call CPS if a student wasn't in school, and the truancy officer or CPS would come. You wanted to have everything documented so that you had proof that you had been doing school, you did 180 hours of instruction, you were legal with the school district, all of these things. Any questions on that, we recommend you go to hslda.org. I'm also going to say, as a homeschooler, we belong to hslda.org. It's $100 or so for a family. They actually give you a teacher card. So I've been able to get discounts at like Barnes and Nobles.
Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, different places. I don't know, was it Hobby Lobby?
Mom gets discount, the teacher discount at Hobby Lobby.
Okay. I know Joann's too used to have the teacher thing. So they give you a teacher card. But if there's ever an issue where somebody knocks at the door and wants to know what's going on with their kids, you are able to call them and they provide legal representation. And they are fighting battles. And I think they're going to be fighting a lot more battles because of all of this. So I highly encourage you, even though you don't report it, it's okay, but still keep some kind of academic record, just even if it's just for yourself, so you know.
Awesome. Heather asks, does Masterbooks have a Bible curriculum?
Yes. We have, well, for the elementary levels, we have More Than Words 1 and 2. We have the elementary apologetics. We have integrated in throughout all of our curriculum is a very strong biblical apologetic. So they're going to get a very solid biblical education from us. We also have a couple of other Bible curriculums coming out in 2021 that we're excited by, so we'll be looking for details for that. We have, it may not be like, Bible, but almost everything you get, and hopefully people can weigh in.
Apologetics and action.
Hobby Lobby was right.
I better hope, because everybody's like, oh, Hobby Lobby.
I don't remember Hobby Lobby.
I was with her one time when she used, it was like Teacher Appreciation Week, and they gave her a discount.
Okay. Cool.
I hope, 'cause now they're all going to be asking. Jeanette said, I'm new to homeschool and I feel like I'm not knowledgeable with some subjects. I fear that I won't be able to help them.
Don't worry about it. There's nothing that we don't have access to. So I can very easily turn on my phone and pull up YouTube videos or some kind of help. And in the academy, we're getting more and more help. So principles of mathematics, because pre-algebra level concepts are difficult. Kate Loop Hannon has in the masterbooksacademy.com Principles of Math 1 and Principles of Math 2. Angela Odell is working right now on Math Lessons 1 and America's Story 1 in the course. We also have Simply K by Carrie Bailey. If you're starting kindergarten and you're a little nervous on, oh boy, she does an excellent course in there teaching the kindergarten level. And we're adding more courses all the time to that to help as well. Listen, you don't have to know everything. You just have to know how to access what you do need. You're a facilitator. There's no teacher that's going to understand everything. So you just get the tools. My concept with that is curriculum is tools. You're the carpenter. In the project of educating your student, use the tools that work, and you use the tool the way you best see fit. If you need extra help, it's easy to find tutors or to find a family member that's maybe good at it, or maybe dad could do it, or grandpa could do it. There's so many ways. You don't have to stress about it.
And can I say, growing up, I was a perfectionist, and so it was actually really encouraging to see if I had a question about my school or something I wanted to learn more about. If I went to you and Mom and you didn't know the answer, that you guys would be like, you know what, I actually don't know the answer to that. Let's figure that out together. Gave me permission to like it was okay that I didn't have the answers for everything, but that it kind of gave me that thirst for knowledge, like, okay, well, let's dive into that and try and learn as much as you can. Because I think then, like, sometimes when you're a kid, you feel like once you reach adult status, you're supposed to know everything, and that's just not the case. So that was encouraging to me as I was growing up too, that you guys didn't know everything.
Right. The older you got, the less we knew. And
that too. Samantha said, do you feel Simplification is enough to do for kindergarten, or do we need to add other books?
I think it's enough. I would do Math K and Simply K. There's a video, I've done videos on it, but if you look at Finland, the education model, say of Finland, there's other countries that do it as well, that delay the education of their children, so they focus heavy on development, brain development, motor skill development, social development, and intellectual development in younger ages. Heavy play, reading to the student, imagination type things, and you move forward that way. Like Finland doesn't even start teaching to read until age 7. So our approach is a developmental approach. It's not a rigorous academic approach, because studies show students that are pushed too fast, too soon, that have not fully developed, it's fully developed, they may do the work, but when they reach grades 4 or 5, they can begin to regress and begin to lose ground. So I think you do best by not pushing the student. And so I would go with Simply K, Math K, and then enjoy letting them play and be kids, and that.
Yeah.
That's a long answer.
Good job. It was a good answer though. So, one more question on the Facebook feed. Melissa said, "Hi, are you out of stock or back ordered in anything? We ordered about a week or so ago."
I know there was Heaven and Earth teacher guide, God's Design Science. That came in yesterday afternoon, and I know orders have been going out of that. We're about delayed a week because of the volume of orders we have and the number of bodies we can have shipping things out. We've both been in the warehouse today. That's
why we're dressed like, well, I always wear black t-shirts, so.
I don't always wear t-shirts, but I'm not wearing a button up down there. So it's hot and
it's so hot.
So, but yeah, we're 5 to 7 days right now. I would expect that to increase because the August is always the busy time. We're not even in August yet, and the sales are insane. And I would expect that there are going to be more things back ordered. I wouldn't wait. I would order now. I wouldn't wait because even if something is back ordered, you're going to get it sooner than somebody who orders the end of August, and it'll kind of be first come first serve. So right now we're working, but like they're doing, our design team is also like they're putting out, I think he has like 20-30 books that are being reprinted, and every day there's a new list that's going. So the team has been incredible. I am so impressed. And yeah.
Yeah, and then Barbara said PDFs are never back ordered. So that is also a good point, where if you have your order and there's something that you need immediately, to get a PDF of it too.
You can do that, yeah.
Again, we're going to be giving away the answers for homeschooling, top 25 questions critics ask. I'll be posting a link to that in the comments in the app and then also in the Facebook feed. Again, that is by Israel Wayne. He also authored Pitch in a Fit. Overcoming angry, stressed out parenting, raising them up, parenting for Christians, and education. Does God have an opinion on biblical apologetic for Christian education and homeschooling?
Yes.
So I'm just reading some of the comments.
Okay. What did Mandy say?
What do you see? Yeah. I would love to see a comparison for last year and this year's sales. Phenomenal, for sure.
Yeah, all I can tell you is we're probably up 300+% over last year. So a fair amount is growth that we had going into the year, but we have seen a huge increase due to the new number of homeschool families that are coming in. And the masterbooks, you guys are mentoring new families. We see this like families that are having like open houses where they're inviting neighbors and friends in to help them get started in homeschooling. We can't thank you enough for that. And I grew up during the Jesus movement in the 70s, and I remember this enthusiasm for sharing the gospel message. I may get emotional. And I've been down to the warehouse. Yeah. I've been down to the warehouse shipping books, and there are thousands of books going out every day. And there are families that might never have the gospel presented to them as strongly with biblical authority and the message of Jesus Christ and the hope that we have. And with these thousands of books, these are like tracts that are going out, and I am so excited because it's amazing to be part of something and to know that the impact that this may be having. Kids who are in a public school setting that were getting a secular worldview given to them, that they're here by time and chance, that good to you and all of that nothing like when they receive this book, they're going to be taught that math is a language God uses, that He created it just like He created you, and He can be trusted. Just like 2 + 2 = 4, we can trust Him in His Word. When we study communication and how to effectively communicate God's Word, we're gaining insights into His character and the relationship we have with Him. When we study my story and our relationship that we have, and like it. These things are growing faith and establishing, and we get reports of families who started homeschooling using masterbooks curriculum, and then all of a sudden they started learning things that they had never heard before about the evidence and how it supports biblical authority and how God's Word is true and can be trusted. And it's very moving to be part of that. And you guys that have been homeschooling and are reaching out to others and trying to help them and to mentor them. What a privilege we have, right? To be laborers in what God is doing. At the end of the day, God is seated on the throne. He is in control. He's not surprised. And today, He's presented us with opportunities to present the gospel, to advance the kingdom, to sow into the seeds of kids who may not have those opportunities if this hadn't happened. So, yeah, there's some negative things going on in the world. But there are some awesome opportunities as well when we're eternally minded and look at God and say, okay, I trust that your word says all things work together for good for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. You love me because I'm called according to your purpose, obviously. And so here we go. Now we can look for partnering with God in what He's doing as opposed to what I wish sometimes He was doing. A little bit of a rant.
It's good.
You got it.
It's good.
All right, guys. Hopefully this was helpful, and we are so blessed by you guys. Blessed to be part of the Moms and Master Books. Blessed to be part of the app. Thank you for everybody who's in the app, that makes the app, brings life and community, that participates. That's been awesome too. And we look forward to seeing what God is going to do through the seeds that are being planted. All right?
Awesome.
All right. We'll talk to you next week. God bless you guys.